Hello.
Hi, Naomi.
Hi. Hello, Ira.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. What about you?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly too.
Great.
All right. So, are you ready to go?
We are.
All right, that's great. So, okay, hi everyone. It's good to see you guys back after our first live hari tu. Um, so today we're gonna talk about something different. Still in a mental health scope, but then another topic lah kan, ni kan?
Yep.
Okay.
But I think
So,
something that most people can relate with. Yeah.
yeah, betul.
Mm-hmm.
Itu yang penting lah kan? Sebab we won't address a topic yang memang jarang-jarang happen lah kan. So, our topic today, aku resah, normal ke? So, it's more like on anxiety topic. Kan ni kan?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll be talking about anxiety hari ni.
Yep. So before we start, just want to know our audience can hear us clearly ke? If yes, boleh komen dekat ruang chat lah.
Yes, please
Just
let us know. Yeah, if there's any issues.
Yep. Right.
I think
Oh,
we are good.
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So now
Mine
this
is not very clear.
Ayo.
How about you, Ira? Ira? Can you hear me fine though, Ira?
I can hear you clearly, no lagging. Yeah, the audience also can hear us clearly. Siapa yang tak dengar kita tadi tu?
Please check your connection.
Please check your connection, please.
Okay, great. Nice. Now they
This
can
is
hear.
very unique here.
Okay.
Okay.
So good to go then.
Yep. Okay, so hello everyone. Good afternoon lah kan? Okay, good afternoon because we are in the office. So kita tak tahu sekarang cuaca apa kat luar kan? Okay, so time sekarang adalah afternoon lah. So good afternoon to everyone, to our audience especially. So yeah, today we are back but with a new counselor here. We got Naomi in the house.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything to say to our audience?
I'll just introduce myself. So yeah, as what my colleague here has introduced, yes, my name is Nali and I'm a registered counselor. Yeah, so looking forward to have this sharing session with you guys. And please excuse my bahasa. I'll definitely try my best. Just giving a disclaimer.
It's okay, Nani. I mean, you can mix lah kan.
Yeah.
No pressure here. So we just enjoy the life. So throughout our life later, we will share the knowledge about anxiety. Basically, what we have outlined dekat our poster, we will talk about tanda-tanda anxiety tu sendiri. Lepas tu punca-punca atau penyebab pada kejadiannya anxiety. Lepas tu macam mana kita nak differentiatekan antara anxiety yang normal and anxiety yang abnormal. The reason kita address about this is to avoid self-diagnosis lah. Sebab I believe that channel ni kan sekarang banyak dekat social media, especially on the TikTok. Even our clients sekarang ramai datang claim that they have this kind of issues. But from our clinical judgment, it doesn't seem like that. So in order to avoid the confusion, so maybe we can help ourselves to understand how to differentiate whether this anxiety is normal. Because it's a normal emotions ataupun it's a disorder. Alright, mental health issues lah basically. And some tips that we can share as a basic one because we are not here to conduct any therapy session. So basically we will share some tips sahajalah how we can deal with these anxiety issues. Alright. Okay, Nani, do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, just agreeing on the part that yes, these days a lot of self-diagnosis happening around, so we want to try to avoid that. And just to let you guys know, we are not trying to invalidate your experiences. We're just trying to put out the facts so that you get to decide if this is indeed a disorder, so you need to look more into it. or if there's no need for it, then it's a bit of relief also knowing that, okay, it's not to a level of disorder, so it's just something that we can manage if we try those things, which we'll be sharing. We'll be sharing on the tips. So once you try it, then perhaps then you will know, maybe you can have a bit of relief knowing that maybe it's not to the level of a disorder. Or even if it is, then there's always help available.
Betul, betul. Alright. So, okay. So, I rasa kita dah boleh mula dah kot. Kan, Nalani kan?
Sila.
Alright. So, let's begin with tanda-tanda anxiety tu sendiri. Apa tanda-tanda yang kita ni mengalami keresahan? Tajuk kita aku resah. Normal ke? Sebab biasanya bila we talk about anxiety ni kan, people senang sangat macam, okay, ada anxiety maksudnya kita ada anxiety disorder ke? Okay, so basically let's find out first what is the symptom of anxiety itself. Okay, so basically symptom of anxiety ni kita boleh tengok daripada segi fizikal biasanya. Kalau kita have difficulty to breathe, maksudnya bila kita nak bernafas tu kita rasa it's not a normal breathing. Okay, bukan normal breathing yang kita biasa rasa macam it's a normal breathing, macam as a human being we have a normal breathing kan. Tapi kalau we feel anxious, okay, akan ada satu tahap yang kita rasa macam susah untuk kita bernafas. Kita akan rasa sakit dekat dada. Okay, kita rasa macam nak bernafas tu rasa sesak aja nak bernafas. Sesak nafas lah orang panggil. Simplistic sesak nafas. Rasa macam susah untuk kita bernafas. That's the first thing. And second thing kita boleh rasa ada juga orang yang mengalami anxiety symptom ni dia akan ada rasa sakit kepala. Dia akan ada rasa sakit perut. Atau kita rasa macam kita sweating. Okay, kita boleh sweating ni, kita sweating kita dekat tangan ke, dekat bahagian dahi ke, dekat bahagian tengkuk ke. Okay, sweating ni ada orang yang biasa sebenarnya dia memang jenis senang berpeluh. Tak ada apa-apa yang trigger pun dia punya anxious, dia tak rasa anxious pun, tapi aku ni memang senang sangat nak berpeluh. Which is that is normal. Ada orang yang macam tu ya, yang jenis cepat berpeluh. Tapi kalau orang yang anxiety ni dia punya sweating, there is a triggering situations and you can sense macam you boleh dapat rasa yang you tengah berasa berdebar. Maksudnya ada simptom-simptom lain yang menunjukkan you dalam keadaan tak selesa, you dalam keadaan anxious. Maksudnya it's not only sweating. Tapi kalau you sweating sahaja and you tak ada rasa berdebar ke apa, macam you cool. So kalau orang yang memang senang berpeluh, you can feel that, you can ada experience macam tu lah. Tapi kalau you ada sweating, lepas tu you rasa berdebar, you rasa tangan you shaking, trembling, tak senang duduk, munda mandi, hasillah ke sana ke sini, you know, macam tak senang duduk, orang gelisah orang panggil kan.
Stress walking.
That's the sign. Yes, stress walking, itu semua adalah tanda-tanda maksudnya you dalam keadaan anxious. Okay, so bila you dalam keadaan anxious, it's normal juga akan ada behavior selepas tu where you tend to avoid the situations that makes you feel anxious. Alright? So that's the basic symptom lah. Okay, akan ada lagi yang contoh another symptoms macam you rasa susah untuk you kawal. Okay, bila kita cakap pasal anxious kan, akan ada satu thoughts yang macam you takutkan something. That's why it creates you to have anxious feeling. It means that you have the fear atau worry on something, then it create an anxious feeling. Okay? So, bila jadi macam tu, you have difficulty untuk macam mana aku nak kawal rasa takut aku ni? Macam mana aku nak kawal rasa risau aku ni? Itu pun adalah salah satu tanda yang you tengah mengalami anxious feeling. Okay? Lepas tu mungkin ada juga bila orang yang ada anxious ni, dia akan ada having difficulty to sleep pun ada. Untuk falling asleep, satu perkara. Untuk stay asleep pun, satu perkara lagi. Dia nak tidur pun susah, dia nak tidur straight selama 8 jam pun susah. Dia hasillah terjaga-terjaga. Itu pun tanda-tanda yang dia tengah dalam keadaan anxious. Okay, lepas tu yes, pounding or racing heart ataupun sakit dada. So these are some of the anxiety symptom atau ada symptom macam daripada segi concentration. Bila kita dalam keadaan anxious, kita pun akan rasa macam kita susah untuk pay attention towards certain things. So you see concentration usually sekarang common kan, concentration je ADHD. Betul tak Nal ni kan?
Betul. Dah banyak kali dengar.
Dah banyak kali dengar concentration tu saya macam ada masalah lah saya nak fokus on something. Mesti saya ni ada ADHD ke? So you see, bila ada anxiety also you akan ada masalah untuk fokus, untuk give attention. So it means here, it doesn't mean that you have ADHD. So ADHD is a different cases. Okay, dia punya attention tu is a different cases. Tapi here is the effect of your anxious feeling is you akan ada masalah untuk concentration. Just imagine kalau you dalam keadaan anxious, you akan ada tak senang duduk. You tak senang duduk, you rasa berdebar, you rasa berpeluh, you rasa macam a lot of things in your mind. Then how you can pay attention on certain things? Even one thing pun you akan rasa macam susah untuk you focus dalam keadaan you tak senang duduk. So that's the difficulty in concentration lah for anxiety cases. And lagi satu yang you boleh kalau tanda-tanda anxiety yang lain juga, macam you senang rasa penat. So itu pun adalah salah satu tanda anxiety juga. Yeah, so that's basically the basic symptom of anxiety lah. Alright, so basically anxious ni adalah a normal feeling tau sebenarnya. Okay, semua orang akan mengalami anxious. Sebab anxious ni adalah a basic emotions of a human being. Maksudnya semua orang, kalau you having anxious, when you have been triggered on something yang you tak suka, on something yang you rasa tak selesa, of course it will create fear, it will create this anxious feeling. But it doesn't mean that you experience anxiety disorder. Okay, kalau you tak ada anxious, bila you being triggered with something yang buat you takut, then it make us question, are you okay? Sebab macam pelik lah kan, benda tu buat you takut tapi tak ada rasa macam you cool je, you relax je. Are you suppressing your emotions? Which is that's not healthy pula. So maksudnya it's okay for you to feel anxious. But what are the thing that's not okay here is when it reach to the level of anxiety disorder. Alright, so we will talk about that later lah. Okay Nalni, so maybe you would like to share Nalni lagi, ada apa-apa yang you nak share tak about tanda-tanda keresahan Nalni?
I must say that one of the most common things that, okay, so like I think it's good to point out how normal these experiences are. The normalcy of feeling anxiety kan. One example is that I'm sweating. My palm is sweating a lot right now. And
Sekarang
yes, I would say because like I tak biasa bagi speech in bahasa, and this is like my way of practicing also. So it's a good opportunity. But at the same time, I'm nervous. I'm afraid of doing something wrong. So yes,
I mean it's good that you can describe it, your emotions here.
Yeah. So yeah, just to let you know, like you might think us practitioners may not feel these kind of things, but no, these are entirely normal human experiences, and it's just about like how severe it is and to what extent it's affecting you. I just want to double check also real quick if you guys can hear me well, because I've been hearing a few comments about not being able to hear me. So please let me know if you can, right? So I think what I wanted to highlight about the anxious feeling and abnormal anxiety. Sorry, not abnormal anxiety. Let me word it differently. More of like anxiety disorder. So knowing the difference would be helpful. So would be the next thing that our friend Ira here would be sharing, right?
Betul. So we will
know
talk
that.
about
For sure.
Right. Okay, maybe our audience can share some of their symptoms. I mean that when we talk about unpleasant emotions ni, it's good actually if we can identify our body reactions toward that emotion. Maksudnya contoh, kalau you guys anxious, what are the body symptoms yang you boleh notice? Oh, bila I ada this kind of body symptom, it means that I am anxious. So this is one way to regulate your emotions actually. One of the tips for you to regulate your emotions better is to know your body symptoms. So maybe our audience can share, boleh share dengan kita what kind of symptoms yang you rasa whenever that you rasa anxious, you notice you akan ada this kind of body symptoms. It's okay, we will not judge you. And again, like I said, it's not, I mean, if you experience that kind of body symptom, it doesn't mean that you experience anxiety disorder, yeah. So it's just a normal symptom because it reacts toward the anxiety, toward the anxious feelings lah. So maybe our audience would like to share with us what are their body symptoms that they can observe. Is there anyone who would like to share with us?
Yeah, so someone shared about having fast heartbeat.
Oh, really? I can't see any comment. What happened to my life? Oh, okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Fast heartbeat is
Fast
definitely
heartbeat.
one of the most common symptoms. Yeah.
Ah, okay. How about the phobia? Okay. What do you mean? What you want to know about the phobia? Okay, I don't know how to pronounce your name, to be honest. What do you want to know about phobia, actually?
Yeah. If you could be more specific with your question, that would be great. But I would say
Could you
phobia
please
is also the more of one of the anxiety disorders.
could you?
Can I make another quick check in right now if you guys are able to hear me clearly now? Is it better? How about Ira? Can you hear me actually?
I can hear you clearly. How about from my side?
Yeah, you're clear as well.
All right. Okay, Zags. Okay, just now I noticed yang you ada tanya about phobia kan? Okay, what do you want to know about phobia actually? Because we will talk about phobia later, tapi maybe you have something in your mind right now? Alright, tak apa. Sementara dia tengah type soalan tu, maybe we can proceed with the next one now ni.
Yeah.
What you want to share lagi now ni?
Yeah, so I think yes, definitely it's key to know whether it's a feeling of anxiety. So it takes looking at the situation kan, kena tengok situation tu and like for how long and how severe these things that you are experiencing. If it's for a prolonged period of time, then it shows that yeah, it could be something that we need to look more into, and it can be an indicative of a disorder. And I think the key deciding factor is how much it affects your daily functioning. Betul tak?
Okay, Nalini. Okay, that's about how to differentiate lah kan. Okay, maybe Nalini boleh share dengan our audience juga apa punca-punca penyebab apa punca-punca pada wujudnya isu keresahan ni. Macam mana keresahan tu boleh terjadi? Apa triggering factor pada isu keresahan Nalini?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it can have a lot of reasons. So I think it's good if we can like divide it into internal and external factors. So ada faktor dalaman dan faktor luaran. So let's look at the faktor dalaman first lah, which means the things that start with ourselves. And one of the main things that affects us, how we feel and stuff like that, it starts with our thoughts. Jadi if anxiety is what we are feeling, then it could be traceable to our thoughts actually. So our thoughts make us feel a certain way. Yeah. And these thoughts can be influenced, right? Sebab kita punya thought process ni, it has a lot of factors that can influence that. So one of the things, and a part of this faktor dalaman, which is internal factors, is also our life experiences. So throughout our life, I mean from birth up until this age, right? Our brain is in a constant learning mode. Kan otak kita ni selalu it's learning something, and it's important to keep us safe as well, so that you know we know what to avoid. And but with anxiety, that's the main thing actually. It's our brain trying to keep us safe, and it's it goes into this flight or fight mode. I think we have heard about this term, quite common. Flight or fight means ready to run, flight or so for that
nak lari atau nak lawan.
Yeah. So if you run, your heart needs to be ready to beat fast to pump oxygen to your body. Yeah. And sometimes you can go into the freeze mode as well. It's also one of the mode that our body goes into, which is why some part of the symptom of anxiety is also like you'll feel like numbness, and there's a bit of dissociation and things like that. It's more on the disordered category, right? So there are these kind of complex things. So one of the causes, I would say, it goes back to our thoughts, and these thoughts can be coming from our past experiences, and especially if it's like negative experiences in our life, could be from childhood, unfinished business, those kind of things. And because our brain is on a constantly learning mode, it will learn to be afraid of certain things, or it will learn that okay, something happened in the past that gave me a very bad consequences, a negative consequence. So kita pun macam, oh, we have to avoid this. Jadi bila benda tu like the very thing that we are afraid, even if it's not actually there, we would start to anticipating it. Itu yang buat resah lah actually. So kalau nak bagi contoh, for example, you know, you were driving one day and you got into an accident, right? And then that was like a bit, you know, fearful. It was a negative experience, obviously. So kita akan memang at that moment we would have like gone through really, you know, bad period of like, you know, settling everything and stuff like that. It's a negative experience. So next time when you are trying to drive, it's completely normal that you would feel anxious all over again. And then you akan mulalah ada rasa thoughts like, oh, what if I get into accident again? So one of the example causes is this kind of thoughts. What if I get into an accident again? So this is how it, you know, these kind of thoughts and our negative experiences could be causes of anxiety. So faktor dalaman. Now bagi faktor luaran pula, boleh, I actually got a lot of things lah, like macam persekitaran kita, interaksi kita dengan orang-orang lain, and especially orang-orang yang significant lah, like important people in our lives. Could be parents, siblings, friends, even at workplace, our bosses, colleagues, the way they interact with us can also make us feel anxious sometimes. Could also, again, whatever that brings up this negative experience, we would want to avoid it because it's unpleasant, right? So that's where we would feel anxious whenever something similar could happen, or we would want to avoid something similar from happening. So yeah, that's where we can have anxiety because like our brain is like, oh, what if this thing happens again? So it's kind of interrelated, like I would say, faktor dalaman and faktor luar. So aside from that, I think one of the main common, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate also, is having our lifestyle lah, basically. I rasa kan, I'm not sure Ira if you can relate to this, or if you have heard people experiencing this as well, that you know, current lifestyle, kita punya sleep is affected heavily, and could be because of increased smartphone usage kan, sebab kita tengok screen for a very long time and it affects our sleep, and our lifestyle also, you know, it's not very it could be on a rather unhealthy spectrum, I would say, where, you know, we don't get enough sleep, and also work stress, academic stress, those kind of things that can constantly affect not just our lifestyle but also the way we feel. And there could be a lot of like deadlines upcoming. Benda-benda tu memang it's understandable.
Yes.
Anxious.
Betul.
Sometimes you think about the next day, we would start feeling anxious about those things.
Yes. So you see macam apa yang I fahamkan ni kan, when we talk about anxiety ni, macam you cakap tadi lah, it can come from both sides. It either faktor dalaman atau faktor luaran lah kan. So macam faktor dalaman tu lebih kepada our thoughts. So maksudnya cara kita berfikir tentang sesuatu situasi, that's the thing yang trigger us to have this anxious feeling. So cara kita berfikir ni kita panggil sebagai cara pemikiran. Okay, cara pemikiran yang tak membantu, itu yang akan create this anxious feeling. Okay, anxious feeling ni memanglah I cakap it's something normal that we need this anxious feeling because this anxious feeling can help us untuk keluar daripada our comfort zone. Maksudnya boleh buat kita motivate in doing something, kan? But then this is unpleasant feeling, betul tak? So anxious ni walaupun it's normal, walaupun it help us untuk keluar daripada our comfort zone, but it's something that unpleasant. So kalau boleh, we don't want it to be, kalau daripada skala 1 sampai 10, kita tak nak dia sampai 10. Sampai contohnya kita nak present, kalau student kan, kalau kita nak present paper contohnya, kita tak nak kita punya anxious tu sampai level 10 ni. Sebab kalau level 10 nanti it makes us macam terus nak avoid daripada present, terus tak jadi nak present. Ataupun duduk atas stage tu jadi kerah, jadi kejung. That's what we call as freeze. Ataupun kita fight maksudnya kita boleh nampak daripada intonasi suara kita berubah. Macam tiba-tiba boleh nampak ketara lah yang kita ni tengah nervous. Ataupun nampak macam kita tengah shaking. Ataupun kita flight, kita terus tak nak present. Itu adalah kita punya tindak balas lah disebabkan kita punya anxious yang terlalu intense, terlalu tinggi, level 10 contohnya. So walaupun normal, I mean it's normal kalau you anxious sebab you tahu you nak kena present. But it doesn't mean yang kita kena biarkan dia sampai level yang terlalu tinggi sampai dia menghalang kita untuk present. Ataupun dia mengganggu kita punya presentation. Okay. Lepas tu, so sekarang ni that's from our thoughts. Maksudnya kita ada cara pemikiran yang boleh membawa kita untuk rasa anxious. So cara pemikiran yang tak membantu ni, contohnya, saya rasa ni biasa kita suka sangat predict the future. Nanti mesti jadi macam ni. What if kalau jadi macam ni? So this kind of predicting the future boleh create you anxious sebab benda tu tak jadi lagi. Tapi you dah predict, nanti mesti jadi macam ni sebab aku tak payah keluar rumah. Nanti mesti aku punya peperiksaan gagal. Kalau aku buat macam ni nanti mesti peperiksaan aku gagal. Mesti aku dapat result yang teruk. So baik aku tak payah buat langsung. So this kind of thoughts also boleh bawa pada anxious feeling. Ada juga pemikiran yang jenis yang macam label diri kita sendiri. Alah, aku dah gagal ni mesti maksudnya aku ni tak pandai. So bila kita fikir kita ni tak pandai, benda tu boleh buat kita dalam keadaan uncomfortable tau. Bukan saja boleh buat keadaan kita depressed, tapi juga boleh tinggalkan kita dalam keadaan anxious. Anxious to perform better in the future. Kan Nani kan?
Yeah.
Nani, are you okay dah?
Yeah. I'm doing. Thank you.
And satu lagi faktor adalah faktor luaran. Faktor luaran ni lebih kepada macam contoh kalau fobia. Fobia biasa kan kalau kita tengok orang yang fobia pada ketinggian, fobia pada certain animal, fobia pada darah, fobia, social phobia maksudnya you fobia untuk pergi berjumpa dengan orang ramai. So this kind of situations kita panggil sebagai external cues. Maksudnya benda luar yang trigger, the environmental factor yang trigger sesuatu anxiety tu. Tapi mostly I would say kalau you ada anxious feeling, although you've been triggered with your surrounding, you have to look at the way you think about that surrounding too. Sebab if you look at the way you think about that surrounding, it's not only about the surrounding yang trigger you, but actually yourself. I would say this, you are the one who jeopardize yourself. Macam kasar kan bunyi dia, tapi this is how we want to help you guys understand that it's not because of the situations, other people ataupun situasi luar macam darah ke apa ke jarum ke apa ke yang boleh trigger you punya anxiety, tapi cara you berfikir tentang that situations also boleh trigger you punya anxious feeling. Nani, I nampak banyak sangat soalan ni Nani, tapi kita tak jawab lagi ni Nani.
From my side, I'm not able to see the
you tak
questions.
boleh nampak, is it? Okay, let me read the question. Ada question yang ada yang bertanya, dia kata dia confused with the symptoms of anxiety when I'm struggling with something which is monotonous.
Struggling.
And how to differentiate the level of anxiety, Nani?
Okay. Alright.
So would you like to answer?
Okay, so I think this a certain screening test would be helpful, and please take note that this is screening test, and that is merely to look at your current anxiety levels, and it's not for us to diagnose that yes, you have an anxiety disorder. Yeah. So yes, there are tools such as DAS-21 which are available online as well. So you have like a set of questionnaire and you just have to answer it lah. And when you're answering it, try not to take too long. Okay. Let me just type it in the comment here on the screening tool. Okay, so it's called DAS-21. So you can actually and there are actually websites that can also give out the scores, and it will have disclaimer that this is merely a screening tool just to let you know that this is your current anxiety level. And actually if you look at the questions tu kan dalam screening tool tu, it's about how you've been feeling for the past week. So it just shows that in that 1 week or the past few weeks, this is how you're feeling. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have anxiety disorder. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. And I feel like I only answered part of the question. And what was the first part of the question again, Ira? Please, need your help.
Dia kata dia confused dengan symptom of anxiety when I'm struggling with something which is monotonous. Actually, I'm quite confused with this question. Maybe you can macam
it would be good to clarify, but I think I get.
ah.
I think what you're saying is that your life currently is pretty much mundane. You know, maybe something that is similar that's happening, but regardless of that, you are feeling anxious. Is that what you mean? I need your clarification on that. So if that's what you mean, then yeah, we'll give will answer your question from that.
And yeah, besides the screening questionnaire yang I rasa memang sekarang ni soalan DAS 21 tu memang dah common lah untuk orang jawab kan. Okay, lagi salah satu cara untuk kita differentiatekan our level of anxiety is usually we will use a skill. Kalau you guys can found out dekat internet, there is this we call as thermometer, emotional thermometer. Sebab biasanya kita akan tanya our client, kalau client datang with unpleasant emotions, okay, daripada 1 sampai 10, berapa level awak rasa? Agak-agak lah awak estimate je daripada awak punya rasa resah sekarang ni 1 sampai 10. And look at on your behavior tu. Sebab kebiasaannya, okay, 1 sampai 10. 1 is, I would say as you have anxiety, tapi it's kurang, sangat kurang. 10 it's a very severe one. So kebiasaannya, bila you have severe level ataupun intense level of emotions, your behavior usually akan jadi inappropriate. Itu yang bermaksud the emotional dysregulations is there. Maksudnya the ability for you to manage your emotions so that it doesn't affect your behavior too much, it's not there yet. Maksudnya you are still struggling with emotional dysregulations, that's why your behavior is inappropriate. So if you observe that your behavior following that after your because of your anxious feeling tu macam the behavior is inappropriate. Contohnya macam tadi I bagi contoh, you nak present something and because of that either you freeze ataupun you tak nak terus present, ataupun the way you present tu nampak sangat lah memang you tengah dalam keadaan nervous sampai dia mengganggu you punya konsentrasi. So it might shows that you experience the high level of anxiety. Okay, it doesn't mean the high level tu 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ke 10, tak kisah. Okay, but what we want to emphasize here ialah make it either low or it can be high. So kalau it's high, you can see your behavior would be inappropriate. Like I said, anxious usually there is a tendency for you to avoid things because you feel anxious, so you don't want to face that. Tapi kalau you could maintain your anxious feeling to below 5, okay, it means that the anxious feeling is still there, but in terms of behavior, you still can perform. So macam tadi, nervous nak present. It's normal for you to feel nervous because you have to present in front of other people. Kan? Nak berlakon cool pun macam tak boleh je kan? Macam, of course you will have this anxious feeling. Tapi it's below 5. Maksudnya, you still can perform as usual. Despite you punya anxious feeling. Okay, so to answer about how to differentiate the level of anxiety, that's how I would like to answer on that questions lah. Okay, and ada lagi questions? Apa dia Nani?
No, I said that was very well said. Yeah, you just put it so well.
Okay, ada tu yang bertanya tu Nani, freeze tu ada beza ke dengan brain fog? Wow, ni banyak membaca ni.
Yeah,
brain
it
fog.
could be a freeze reaction also.
Yeah.
Overwhelming, and you know one of the reactions to it's like having brain fogs and also macam like you can feel like your system is like shutting down. That kind of thing. That's a level of a freeze response lah.
Yeah. Freeze tu ibarat you bayangkan iceberg lah. Kan macam you tak boleh nak dah macam dia macam kejung kat situ, dia dah macam keras kat situ. Dia macam iceberg. Macam ice kan. So bila you dalam keadaan tu, your brain also tends to shut down. Bila kita dalam keadaan anxious, usually akan ada 3 these basic reactions. Either you fight, you lawan, ataupun you flight, you lari, ataupun you freeze dekat situ. Tapi freeze ni bukan bermaksud freeze yang something yang macam freeze ni benda yang bagus tau. Macam nampak macam you stay kat situ kan, you bukan avoid, tapi actually you stay there macam tak berapa nak function. Sebab you akan ada hilang concentration, you jadi you jadi pelupa because your brain is tend to shut down. Itu kita panggil sebagai freeze, and dia having quite similarity lah dengan, I mean, when you freeze, there is a the brain fog is there. The brain fog situation is there. Alright? And ada soalan lagi Nani, fobia dengan darah boleh overcome tak?
Sorry, come again?
Fobia dengan darah boleh overcome tak?
Boleh overcome tak? What do you think? Yeah. So yeah, actually, with any kind of phobia or anxiety, over time kan, kita actually boleh overcome it lah. And how do we overcome it is by slowly exposing ourselves to these very things that are making us anxious. So we can do it gradually, actually, right? And these things can be done through therapy, of course lah. Sebab this is now what you will do is actually learning and telling your brain that, hey, you know what, it's okay, it's not a threat. Darah ni can't harm us, it's fine. It doesn't think about this, you know, that kind of thing. So it's macam unlearning things and then learning something new, saying that, okay, you know, it's fine, there's no danger. Sebab anxiety is basically about your brain going danger, 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 you know. And basically we are just like telling ourselves like, you know what, no, there's no danger, we are fine.
Yeah, betul. The anxious feeling is there because you fear on something. Okay, so when we talk about fear ni kan, usually fear ni akan our brain is trying to tell us, oh, there is a danger. Okay, so when your brain tells that of course you will have this fear, you have this anxious feeling, and your behavior apa akan jadi? Avoid lah. Avoid ke, you akan jadi freeze ke, you akan jadi fight ke. So it depends on how you deal with it lah, kan? But then when we talk about feelings ni, it's not something that cannot be overcome. So it means that it can be overcome. But there are techniques for you to learn on how to overcome it. Alright? Sebab you know, when we have certain emotions, our brain is trying to protect us actually. Tapi dia trying to protect us dengan cara macam mana? When we being triggered, they are trying to protect us. Bagus kan our brain ni kan, otak kita, dia tengah nak tolong kita ni. Tapi dia tolong kita dengan cara macam mana? Awak larilah. Itu cara dia nak tolong kita. So itu yang bermaksud kita kena belajar macam mana kita nak kawal cara kita, so that although kita feel anxious, it doesn't mean that we have to run. We have to face it despite of our anxious feeling. So that's what we are trying to share lah today. It's not about to run, it's not about to freeze, it's not about to fight. It's about to live with it.
The discomfort basically.
Apa dia Nani?
The discomfort. Yeah.
Yes. Learning to live with discomfort.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's just learning to sit with it and telling yourself, hey, okay, calm down, it's okay, nothing's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think as I was talking about this, so tadi ada kan soalan pasal apa, you know, having a mundane lifestyle tapi still rasa anxious. So again, anxiety ni, it's not just about having like an actual threat. It's like, you know, it's not about like just about fearing something. It could be also like bila you rasa je ada something that is threatening you. And this can be an actual threat or also imagine or something that is perceived. So that is something in life that you could be feeling threatened right now. Sometimes our self-worth could feel threatened, our self-image could feel threatened. Yeah, threatened by something. Or it could be just like in life when you're like just thinking about life in general and you feel threatened about where the future is going to take. So those can also cause anxiety. So, you know, again, a lot of things about future, predicting the future is actually one of the most common type of thoughts that can be anxiety inducing for us. So yeah, despite your mundane lifestyle, there are other factors outside also that could be, you know, causing anxiety. So it's good to look things at a holistic way. There isn't sometimes just one thing to pinpoint. There could be a whole bunch of factors interacting with each other that is making you feel. So try observing. I would say start with observing your thoughts. Yeah. Try to see how you're speaking with yourself or just your way of thinking. How is it like? What kind of things you're doing? Are you predicting the future a lot? Yeah, try to pay attention to those things first maybe. That'll be a good start.
Betul. And yelah macam kita cakap tadi kan, penyebab tu tak semestinya datang daripada luaran. Kadang-kadang ada je yang rasa anxious out of sudden. Macam tengah duduk, tengah chill, tiba-tiba no anxious. How come you can feel anxious kan? So it means that at that time, the best way that you can do is try to look at your thoughts. Sebab sometimes it's not the situations that trigger you. I mean that for someone that having phobia, a specific phobia, contohnya macam takut dengan darah, so you can see that okay, yes, darah tu trigger you, but it's not only darah that trigger you, how you look at the darah also that trigger you too. Kan? Tapi orang yang macam tak ada apa-apa, I mean tengah duduk relax, tapi tiba-tiba you anxious. Kenapa you boleh anxious? Then try to look at the way you think about certain situations. Might be at that time you tengah flashback on something. That's what we call the unfinished business. Kita punya business yang sebelum ni yang tak settle lagi. So that's what we call as unfinished business, or scientifically we say as trauma ke, kan? So having this kind of flashbacks also can trigger our anxious feeling as well. Sebab kenapa kita kan hidup dekat 3 different timeline kan, ni kan, we live in past, present and future. While we are in the present, tapi we senang untuk, kita ni senang untuk flashback about our past. Sebab our past is not, kita ada banyak experience yang tak best dekat masa lepas. So somehow we bring them back to our present. Sama ada we being triggered and this flashback happens, ataupun we don't being triggered pun. Kita tengah duduk tenang, ataupun just tengah scroll social media, tiba-tiba it brings back our past memories back. Then you can see that you started to anxious. So you see, it's not about the situation that cause you to feel anxious, but the way you think about certain situations also trigger you punya anxious. And it's not only think about the past, bring back to the present, but we also think about the future. Benda tak jadi lagi, awak dah fikir tentang masa depan kan? So of course, what you yang tengah berada dekat masa kehidupan sekarang, of course lah you akan anxious. Sebab you tak tahu, you kind of risau apa akan jadi pada masa depan I. So I rasa macam zaman kita sekarang ni, kita tak tahu masa depan kita macam mana kan. Kita tak tahu apa akan jadi pun pada esok, sekejap lagi pun kita tak tahu. So of course that we will live somehow in a condition of anxious state. Alright, so yes, it's normal for you to feel anxious kalau you rasa macam tu sekalipun. Alright,
Understandable.
Okay, so that's about punca-punca. So maksudnya punca-punca can come from 2 sides kan Ani? So the first side is, the first part is faktor dalaman, which is our thoughts and how we think about our past experience, our unfinished business. So unfinished business ni sangat-sangatlah penting untuk disettlekan. So you kena process about your unfinished business so that you live in the present. Walaupun you have this kind of flashback, you still can manage to control it. So ibarat benda kat
Point
settle.
to add on the trauma part. You cakap pasal trauma tu kan, it's you really raise a very good point about having flashbacks and stuff like that. And then something very subtle pun can be a trigger to our anxiety. Some things like, maybe a certain date, a date of an experience in the past. And then the following year comes, and then if the date is getting closer, you will find yourself feeling anxious for no reason. You akan rasa macam, why am I feeling anxious? Tak ada trigger pun, there is no reason to be anxious. And then it could there's this date that is approaching, and then it's just like, in your subconscious mind, it's thought in your memory. Tapi you tak sedar pun the date is approaching or anything, but then it can be a trigger, and this is how anxiety you can have this kind of experiences as well. So just a point to add on trauma and how these kind of things can also affect us, and which is why, like our friend Ira said, it's definitely important to process those trauma and unfinished business in a certain place. And yes, definitely therapy is the best place to do that.
Betul. So maksudnya when we talk about what happened in the past, the unfinished business part, although benda tu dah berlaku pada masa lepas, and some people can say macam, I always hear this lah, macam alah benda dah berlaku kat masa lepas kan, tak payahlah ingat balik. No, it's not the way how it's supposed to be lah. Although it already happened in the past, tapi kenapa you still rasa sampai sekarang? Sebab itulah sebab benda kan dah lepas, biar je lah. No, we can't biarkan. Whatever that happened in the past, it's very dia bagi painful pada kita. So kita tak boleh nak dismiss that kind of painful emotions. That's why you need to process it so that you can live with that painful peacefully.
Come to terms with it.
Sebab kalau kita dismiss that painful as if macam we can simply say, especially to someone yang ada trauma, if we simply say, alah benda kan dah lepas, tak payahlah ingat lagi, benda dah lama jadi. No, I mean that avoid untuk cakap benda macam tu sebab we don't know how people experience on that thing, how painful they experience on that thing. So instead of us then to dismiss their painful, so why not we help them to embrace with it, to live with it in the present life. So that's about processing your unfinished business so that it doesn't create an anxious, it doesn't create an intense anxious feeling atau depressed mood in our present life. Okay, so
Fine.
betul? So let's look at that two things lah. That two sides, which is the faktor dalaman and also faktor luaran. So faktor dalaman can come from our thoughts and our perceptions about our unfinished business, and faktor luaran can be about our persekitaran lah. Tapi about our persekitaran ni ialah something that we can control kan, ni kan?
Yup. There is a limit lah how much we can control kan in life.
Betul.
Especially yang faktor persekitaran tu memang there's only so much you can do. And
yes, betul.
Kita bukan nak cuba untuk demotivate kamu semua. It's actually just to put things into perspective. This is the reality of life. There's only so much control you have. And
betul.
You actually can look at how many things you can actually control, and at the end of the day it's diri kita sendirilah. Ourselves.
Yeah, betul. I guess that we will talk about apa dia Nani?
No, I was just going to say that, that can also be a relief to know that, there is still some control in life, which means that I can control the way I think, the way I choose to feel, the way I choose to see certain situations, my decisions and stuff like that. This is what we are emphasize more on. One of the main tips for anxiety is also that actually to focus on what is in your control.
Betul. So nanti we will talk about that later lah, a bit lah tentang things yang about our locus of control. We will talk about that sebab this could be one tips on how you can reduce your punya anxiety. You see, I'm not saying that don't feeling any anxious at all. I would say that reduce your anxiety. So it means that you need anxiety, you need anxious feeling, but let's reduce it the amount lah, so that it will not impact your behavior later. So we will talk about that more on the locus of control, because we always think that we can control every situations, right? When we think that we can control all situations, and when it doesn't happen, macam apa yang kita nak, it doesn't meet our expectations, that's where depressed comes in, that's where anxious comes in. Where we will try our best to make it that thing happen too.
Yes.
So it's good sebenarnya if we have this locus of control technique later lah, we will talk about that later. So before we jump to the tips, let's understand dulu Nalni how to differentiate whether about keresahan yang normal dan keresahan yang abnormal. So basically keresahan yang normal ni maksud dia apa? So keresahan normal ni maksudnya anxious feeling lah yang kita biasa ada. So it's normal kalau kita anxious, kita pun akan ada rasa simptom macam trembling ke, kita akan rasa macam having difficulty to breathe ke, difficulty untuk concentrate ke, sleep problem ke, sebab kita tengah anxious. And anxious is a normal emotions, so it's normal also if you have this kind of anxiety symptoms. But dia boleh jadi disorder, dia boleh jadi anxious yang abnormal when kita look at three perspective ya. The first one, how intense your anxious emotions it is. Okay? And the second one is seberapa kerap you punya anxious tu berlaku. Just imagine that you experience anxiety every day. Non-stop ya, setiap kali bangun je pagi you ada this kind of anxiety. And every day it happens, and it's not only every day. Usually kalau disorder, it can goes up to 6 months. Just imagine you experience either every day ataupun almost of the day, and it consistent for 6 months. 6 months and ni 6 months is not a short duration tau. So lama, 6 bulan tu panjang dia punya duration kan. And you go with this anxiety symptoms for 6 months. And you can see that your functioning, your daily functioning also interrupted. Maksudnya you tak boleh nak function well because of these anxiety symptoms. So you see, these are some criteria on how to differentiate kan whether this is an normal anxiety ataupun this can goes up to anxiety disorder. Okay, look at the intensity, look at the frequency, look at the duration, and whether all this, whether this anxious feeling cause you to have a disruption in your daily functioning or not, to perform in your daily functioning. Yeah. Okay, so in the last session, I've given an example of 2 situations. So it's okay, let me recall back on that examples. So the first examples is when you feel anxious, but then you still can go to school. Okay. The second one, if you feel anxious, but then you can't go to school or you can't go to work at all. So these 2 situations, it means that the first situations you will feel like, oh, this is normal anxious because after all you still can go to school or you can go to work. The second one, this anxious feeling, it stop you to do anything. You just nak duduk dalam bilik, you just nak isolate diri you sebab you rasa that's the safest place for you. So it means that this can goes up to anxiety disorder. Alright. Right? Okay. So maybe we can share too now ni some of anxiety disorder yang common sangat terjadi. Okay. Would you like to share now ni any common anxiety anxiety disorder yang biasa kita
One
dengar?
of the most common ones is generalized anxiety disorder, and this is the most common one is generalized, and it's something that a lot of people could relate with, and a lot of people would tend to think that they could have that. It's so because like you know, it's very hard to tell the trigger in the first place. So it's very general. It's sometimes at the beginning stage hard to identify the triggers. You wouldn't know where to begin with this sort of anxiety disorder. Yeah, so that's what I could think of right top of my head.
Yeah, that's JAD. JAD ni maksudnya you anxious for so many things. But then macam kejap fikir pasal duit, kejap fikir pasal kesihatan, dia macam bertukar-tukar tau you punya anxious thoughts tu. You macam risau yang terlampau-lampau. Lepas tu you rasa macam you punya risau ni you tak boleh nak control. Okay, and dia punya risau tu for so many things, for various domain. Banyak sangat you risau. Kejap pasal duit, kejap pasal kesihatan, kejap pasal performance dekat kerja, kejap risau pasal hubungan. Dia macam you risau terlalu banyak benda, and it happens terlalu frequent. Alright, it happens every day. So itu yang maksudkan dengan GAD. Maksudnya you anxiety for general thing, tapi terlalu, and it happen terlalu banyak and you can't control it. Okay. So the next one I would like to share about social anxiety lah. Social anxiety ni kalau biasa kita dengar rasa takut untuk keluar berjumpa dengan untuk keluar berada di tempat yang macam khalayak ramai. Sebab Kenapa you takut untuk berada dalam social situation lah. Simply said berada dalam situasi yang ada social life. Macam mana nak cakap Melayu ni Nali? Macam susah sikit kat sini. Macam itu dia untuk yang di tempat khalayak ramai lah. Tapi how it can become social anxiety bila you kena berada di situasi yang social macam tu, you ada this kind of thoughts yang people will judge me. So bila kita ada, I mean someone with social anxiety dia fikir macam nanti kalau aku keluar, aku create communication, nanti mesti orang ni judge aku tak cantik lah, aku mesti nampak macam tak cantik lah. Aku ni mesti tak nampak tak handsome kat orang kan. Lepas tu aku ni mesti kalau aku bercakap ni mesti macam pelik dekat orang. Aku rasa orang tengok aku ni cakap macam pelik je, macam gagap je. While actually you bercakap elok je.
Yeah.
Tapi you have this kind of thoughts and it makes you to avoid going to that situation.
Yeah.
Ataupun bukan avoid saja. Ada yang people boleh pergi tapi dia pergi tu dia beli barang cepat. Lepas tu kalau ada orang tegur dia, dia jadi lagi anxious. Sebab dia akan ada tendency untuk takut untuk create the conversation.
Yes.
Sebab dia takut orang judge dia. That's social anxiety. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Lagi Nani, apa lagi yang you nak share? How about panic Nani?
Oh, yeah. Panic is actually one of the most frightening experiences also. And this is something that definitely we need to point out juga lah. Sebab bagi orang yang tak ada experiences macam ni, it can feel silly. Like macam, oh kenapa, why are you experiencing this? Or we won't be able to understand. But yeah, this is for everyone to know that it is actually a real issue where people do experiences this kind of like panic disorder where you can feel like their life is about to end, you know, because the symptoms too sangat strong and it can very easily make them feel like, you know, life is about to end for them. And bayangkan how scary that can be, right? So
Betul.
if you know someone who's experiencing this, please don't invalidate their experiences, don't dismiss their feelings. Try to be with them and offer them some comfort and just being, you know, you don't necessarily have to say anything, just being present with them. You know, could be simple things like holding their hands, offering a hug, and just sitting together with them. That is good enough as well.
Betul?
Yeah.
And when we talk about apa dia Nani?
Yeah, I was just saying how, you know, it's really one of the most challenging experiences actually.
Betul? And someone with panic, kalau kita ada panic attack, it doesn't mean that we have panic disorder. Panic disorder ni bila terjadinya panic attack yang berulang-ulang.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a criteria berapa banyak amount of panic attack that you need to have baru you boleh be diagnosed with panic disorder. Okay, tapi untuk having a panic attack, it quite common too. Sebab panic attack ni dia punya dengan anxious feeling tu berbeza tau. Kalau panic attack ni dia kalau kita lukis dalam bentuk graf kan Nami kan, dia punya tu macam mencanak naik tau.
Yeah.
Mencanak naik dalam masa 1 minit dia boleh pop naik sampai tinggi. And it's very very intense. The fear is very very intense. Okay, tapi kalau anxious, although it's severe, the graph tu kalau boleh tengok macam smooth je lagi tau. Tapi kalau memang panic, you memang rasa macam I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Memang dia punya difficulty to breathe tu memang rasa macam sebab tu there is a fear of dying there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's the difference between panic attack and also an anxious feeling lah. So kalau you rasa, dia memang boleh naik ke peak tu dalam masa seminit je dia dah boleh naik. That's panic attack. You akan rasa macam tercekik juga.
Yeah.
Alright, that's panic attack. Maksudnya panic attack ni very very macam intense. Dia adalah macam nak cakap fear, intense fear yang mencanak naik secara tiba-tiba. That's how I translate it.
Yes.
Intense fear yang mencanak naik secara tiba-tiba. Out of sudden, dia macam terus naik. And very very intense one. That's panic attack. And panic disorder comes bila you frequent having this recurrent of panic attack. That's panic disorder. Alright? Okay. And one more thing Nani yang biasa lagi kita dengar, OCD Nani, OCD.
Oh my God.
OCD. Yes. OCD ni
part where kita selalu macam, if you prefer cleanliness, then you will term yourself as OCD. Or we will term other people, whoever if they're like cleanliness, like, OCD.
Cleanliness, lepas tu perfectionism, it means that you have OCD. Not necessarily, yeah. Sebab yes, when you have OCD, you have the tendency to be perfect in everything. Okay? Tapi it doesn't mean kalau you are perfectionist, you are OCD. Macam mana? Kalau you perfectionist, it doesn't mean that you have OCD. Tapi kalau you have OCD, surely you have perfectionist criteria. Dia macam tu. Simply said kan, When we talk about OCD ni, it's about our obsessive thoughts towards some things. And it's very intrusive. Maksudnya you have a obsessed towards an image, atau towards an urge, atau towards a thoughts. Contohnya yang biasa kita dengar adalah cleanliness lah. Okay? And I read a lot of news juga yang talk about OCD, especially after pandemic. Sebab pandemik kita dah diajar untuk basuh tangan setiap kali kan, setiap kali kita sentuh mana-mana kita kena basuh tangan kan. So it can trigger the OCD symptoms too dekat anyone. And I read a lot of news people develop OCD because of pandemic juga. Sebab dia macam very obsessed dengan kuman, and this obsessed thoughts, cara untuk dia kurangkan dia punya anxious because of this obsessed thoughts adalah dengan performing compulsive behavior. What does it mean by compulsive behavior? Is when you have the repetitive behavior. Sebab itulah bila you have obsessive towards kuman, contohnya you tend to basuh tangan you banyak kali. And normally kita biasa basuh berapa kali je, ni macam sekali dua okey dah makan, kan? Ataupun basuh tangan sekali dua okey dah lah, peganglah benda lain pula. Itu kan, itu that's normal. Exactly. Sebab kita tahu tangan kita kuman, so kita pergi basuh, okay 1-2 kali dah. Tapi kalau someone yang OCD, dia ada this obsess yang tangan dia memang ada kuman ni. Lepas tu dalam tangan dia ada kuman, dia kena basuh banyak kali. Sometimes ada yang sampai luka-luka tangan dia sebab terlalu kering. Ataupun dia sampai botol sabun tu, boleh jadi sampai macam habislah satu botol untuk dia saja. Sebab dia still rasa macam kuman tu tak habis dekat tangan dia. So that's why she needs to perform this repetitive behavior untuk make sure yang kuman tu hilang. Okay. Kalau untuk orang Muslim biasanya kalau untuk solat kan, kalau orang yang ada obsesif tentang solat ni, dia rasa macam ambil wuduk tu kena banyak kali. Sebabnya dia rasa macam step aku ni tak cukup, and maksudnya kalau step aku tak cukup, maksudnya nanti aku tak puas hati, aku rasa tak complete, so aku kena basuh banyak kali. Padahal dia dah basuh tangan tu 3 kali dah, dia basuh tangan dah. Tapi still dia rasa macam, aku tak cukup lagi dia 3 kali, tak betul lagi di tangan aku ni, tak cukup syarat lagi. Padahal kita yang menyaksikan ni, you already completed 3 kali untuk setiap anggota. Tapi you still rasa macam tak cukup, you still rasa tak puas, so you basuhlah banyak kali. That's OCD. Sebab tu diorang boleh ambil masa yang lama untuk perform satu task, even can goes up to 1 hour. And biasa lagi kita dengar ni, orang yang OCD ni biasanya dia akan check things kan, untuk make sure yang benda tu safe. Contohnya dia nak keluar rumah, dia akan make sure, dia akan check banyak kali lampu lampu, switch lampu, switch dapur apa semua tutup. Lepas tu dia keluar, dia kunci pintu pun dia tengok banyak kali. Aku ni dah kunci ke? I have a case yang lebih kurang macam ni, in which dia rasa macam kalau dia dah kunci pintu, tapi dia rasa dia tak puas. Dia buka balik, dia masuk balik, dia check. Dia check, lepas tu dia keluar, dia tak puas hati. Dia buka balik pintu tu, dia masuk balik, dia check. Then I tanya, until when you want to stop? Until I can see my husband face really stressed, then I can stop. So you see, kalau husband dia tak ada, then how you gonna stop? It can take lama lah untuk dia stop, sampailah dia rasa puas. So you see how difficult it is to live with OCD symptoms because of the obsessive thoughts sahaja, then it leads to the compulsive behavior. So Nani, you have anything to share about OCD?
Yeah, I think the key point here is also to look at how, because as we are talking about anxiety, you mentioned about how perfectionism is one of the traits, right? So and basically understanding that this is what differentiates this perfectionism trait when you are actually having when you're actually having OCD or when you're just anxiety disorder. So these are common traits. Tapi bila dengan anxiety tu, the goal is wanting to be in control of situations, because anxiety tu is like as we said, it just trying to keep you safe kan. So when you're trying to control a situation, you try to perfect it out so that you don't have to worry yourself about the outcome, or you don't, so that it's like your way of telling yourself that okay, I'm in control of the outcome, so I'm gonna do everything perfectly so that the outcome is not affected. So that
Mm-hmm.
is one of the most common anxious behavior lah. This kind of perfectionist trait, right? Comes with a cost. I will talk about it very shortly. And like you said, OCD pula is more of an obsession and compulsion that, okay, I need to do this. And even though enough evidence to tell that you've done this perfect enough, you'll be like, no, I need to do this. It's not enough. You need to keep doing it. So this is what the key difference. Kan? Jadi now back to the part where I was talking about common anxious behavior. Yes, it's about like trying to be in control of the situation, tapi that it comes with a cost. The reason is because, like I said tadi, realistically speaking kan, how much you can control in life, right? There's so much you can do. And whenever there is really certain things you cannot control, sebab memang there will be a lot of uncertainties, especially uncertainties about future. It is anxiety inducing. So these kind of behaviors is where it can turn out to be unhelpful. In certain situations, yes, these behaviors can be helpful, but too much of it is where it can be unhelpful bila memang there is a lot of uncertainties in that situation. Memang there is really nothing much you can do about it already. And here you are trying to do things, trying to constantly find something that you can do to find that comfort in yourself, to tell yourself that it's okay by trying to be more in control of the situation. Tapi realistically, there really isn't much you can do about it already. Definitely, it can make you rasa sangat helpless, hopeless also even. And it can worsen your anxiety. Yeah. Which is why one of our main tips actually to constantly remind yourself of what is within your control. And at the end of the day, you know, like I said earlier, what's in your control is yourself. So looking at what you choose to think about, you know, you have a choice there. So yeah, it makes you, your anxiety makes you feel hopeless. This is where you can remind yourself that, oh, actually I do have a choice here. Choice on what to focus on right now. So yes, it's natural to feel anxious about something. It shows that you care about it enough, right? Yeah, but I can see that it's important for us. But what's important here is to that, you know, yes, there are certain amount of control over the situation. So let's focus on what's in our control right now, what we can do right now. What's the next first step that can be done first, instead of looking too much into the future, trying to predict it and trying to control the outcome. Because realistically, you can give it your 100% and sometimes you won't have that complete control over the outcome also. So it's this kind of acceptance for things that are not in our control, and also acceptance for things that are within our control, and remind ourselves that, okay, with the limited things that we can control, we still have some amount of control. Let's focus on those things. Yeah.
So basically that's the tip lah kan ni kan. So maksudnya dah masuk tip dah ni tak tahulah our audience dapat tangkap ke tidak. So basically dah masuk dah masuk dalam tip dah. So basically tadi kita share about some anxiety disorder yang biasa kita dengar. So macam Nani juga ada share some tips that we can use during our anxious state lah. Sebab during our anxious state that we understand that it's actually normal kalau kita hilang control on certain things because we feel anxious kan. So bila kita dalam keadaan tak senang duduk, rasa tak selesa, rasa berdebar, rasa shaking. So of course that there is a tendency yang we tend to be out of our control. Okay? So that's what I mean by inappropriate behavior. So that's why we have to learn on some techniques that can help us untuk be more appropriate lah in terms of the behavior despite of our anxious feeling. So it means that we still can control our behavior. So the first thing first adalah macam Nani cakap is actually about identifying your locus of control. Tapi kan Nani, when we talk about anxiety kan macam I cakap lah, it's something that we can't control kan. Maksudnya dia punya present tu adalah secara tiba-tiba. We being triggered then we feel anxious. Kan? It's not something that we invite them to come. Aku tengah being triggered ni, mainlah datang anxious feeling. No, it's not something that we invite them to come, but they are there. Kan? That's why the following behavior would be inappropriate lah. So Nani, sebelum kita identify our locus of control ke, before we accept things ke, how we want to make ourselves calm first. Sebab I believe that we can't do anything, okay, before we make sure ourselves calm dulu.
Yes.
Okay?
Definitely.
Sebab when we talk about anxious kan, macam Nani cakap tadi lah, it's about your thoughts juga. So it means that you have to help your thoughts in order for you to reduce your anxious feeling. Tapi macam mana you nak challenge your thought if you sendiri masih dalam keadaan tak selesa, masih dalam keadaan berdebar, masih dalam keadaan yang tak senang duduk. So that's why you have to help yourself first by calming yourself first. So the first stage adalah calm yourself first. Apa you nak buat selepas tu, you nak challenge your mind ke so that your anxiety reduce lagi ke, atau you nak belajar kenal macam mana where is my control, where I can't control. Itu you boleh buat after you calm yourself first. So give yourself a space for you to calm yourself first. Tapi bukan senang kan nak tenangkan diri kita dalam keadaan kita dah trigger. So susahlah kita nak tenangkan diri kita juga kan. I hear a lot of this complain lah, macam saya cuba nak practice ni tapi saya macam saya tak boleh, saya tak tahu, saya macam tak tahu bila masa saya nak kena practice this calm state. This calm techniques. Saya tak tahu bila saya patut tenangkan diri saya. So macam mana Nani kita nak tenangkan diri kita dulu Nani?
Okay, definitely. That's something that we need to look into first, so to calm ourselves down. And yeah, I think to answer your question, when do I need to calm ourselves down? So yeah, one of the things is obviously when you are in that state of like, you are panicking, and that's where you need to know that, okay, this is what you need right now, your main tools. So I'll be sharing the tools with you, right? Tips to calm yourself down. One of the most important things is to actually practice deep breathing. So deep breathing is basically where it's not too complicated, and it's important to do it correctly also. And yeah, you'll be like, well, breathing, I've been doing it for my entire life. How difficult can it be? How can there be a right way? Well, there is definitely a right way when you are trying to breathe in more intentionally, when you are trying to do breathing kan? So basically, you can inhale, and when you're inhaling, the right way is that when you inhale, your stomach's supposed to expand, and it's not like this is not the right way actually.
It's not like the normal breathing lah kan?
Yeah, and you can try to test with yourself and see if you're doing it correctly by placing your hand on top of your tummy and see if your stomach is expanding when you're inhaling, and your shoulders or anything should barely move. So you just inhale, and you can count 4 seconds. If 4 seconds is too much, you can try to, count it quickly lah. Try to count 4 counts quickly if you feel like you're running out of breath, because that can make you feel even more anxious also. So just try to experiment with it and see how it goes. But the goal is to inhale slowly, pause for a few seconds, and exhale slowly. You would do that for like 10 cycles. So inhale, pause, exhale. And you can do it for like 4 seconds. Inhale, pause for 4 seconds, and exhale for 4 seconds. And if you're comfortable, you can extend it to 6 seconds also. Exhale even slowly. And then you do that 10 times. So that is an example of a breathing technique. Things that you can practice. And another most common one also is using grounding technique. So one of the most useful way, and actually I have had testimonies and I've personally tried it myself as well. Grounding technique works for anxiety actually, because this is you trying to use your 5 senses to tell yourself, okay, we are in present here. In this present moment, in this room, we are safe. There's no threat. So there's no need to feel anxious. There's no need to flight or fight or freeze right now. So how we do that is guna 5 senses kita lah, and pretty straightforward this one, okay? So you would start with naming 5 things that you can see. So first thing is things that you can see, and 5 things. So it would be best if you really use your vision to really take in whatever that you're seeing lah. So contohnya you see a bottle in front of you, and then you can pay attention to the color of the bottle. How does it look like? The shape of it. Instead of just saying like, oh, I see bottle, I see my pen, my phone. Yeah, that's 5 things. That's you're not doing it very intentionally, isn't it? So the goal is here to be more intentional and really focus on what you can really take in visually. Best kalau ada macam painting atau like an image, so that you can focus on colors and stuff like that. So 5 things.
they can use resin too now ni. Tapi bulan puasa ni jangan lebih makan siang-siang hari pula nah.
Yeah.
Resin, yes, resin also you can use. I mean dah tak pernah selama ni nak pay attention resin ni, dia punya tekstur macam mana kan, selalu masuk mulut, makan kenyang, telan. Kan? Tapi now we pay attention to that resin. Macam mana tekstur resin tu, macam mana dia punya rasa, macam mana rasa kita punya saliva after kita makan that resin. Dia punya shape kecil ke besar ke. Now we pay attention to that resin. The resin must be proud with us.
Yeah. It's getting attention now, finally.
Yes, resin get an attention from us.
Yeah. So that's one of the ways you can actually ground yourself. So guna your 5 senses. So you start with naming 5 things you can see. Next would be 4 things that you can touch. So with touch also, you wouldn't want to move very quickly. You would just want to try to touch one particular thing and focus on the temperature maybe. How is it warm? Is it cold? And how's the texture like? Is it soft or is it very hard? You know, those kind of things. And do that for 4 different things. And next would be 3 things that you can hear. So yeah, and when it comes to this also, it can be a bit tricky, because when you talk about hearing, sometimes we will tend to go into our head and say, oh, I'm hearing my thoughts right now. That's what you are not going to do. Okay, you're going to focus on your surrounding, what you can hear in your surroundings. Sometimes it can be a quiet room, and that's where you can also feel like it's really hard to hear something then. And that's especially where it can be helpful, where you try to really focus on what you are really hearing in your surrounding. Could be the sound of aircon or someone talking in a different room. So you can try to concentrate on those things and see what you can get. So you do that for 3 things. Okay, and next would be 2 things you can smell. So you can have if you have a certain candle or an essential oil or certain scent that's your favorite. So you can focus on how it smells like, what kind of fragrance you're getting. So those kind of things. And lastly would be 1 thing that you can taste. Taste, it can be anything. It can be maybe you can just pop in a candy, or like what Ira said, raisin. You can focus on the taste, what kind of taste you're getting. If you're not a fan of raisin like me, then candy it is. So yeah, anything that works. So just by using these things, you can, these are one of the really well-known ways to help with calming your anxiety. And one thing with this about when to use it, right? Okay, one of the things is obviously when you're in an anxious state. Another thing, also, you can make this technique, grounding and breathing technique, as part of your daily routine. And
the habit
is known to be helpful for anxiety, actually.
So it means that we are not using this to calm ourselves during our anxious state, but we make it this as a habit lah. Maksudnya every morning you can start this because this technique help you to be mindful. Biasa kan dengar mindfulness. So how to be mindful? So this is the way lah to help you to be mindful, because mindfulness itself maksud dia adalah to bring yourself back to the present. Sebab when you are in anxious state or any unpleasant emotions, you are really into your emotions tau. And you are really into your emotions and you are really into your thoughts. So tak kisahlah thoughts tu about past ke, about future ke, you are really into that timeline. So now kita ni dekat present, our body is in present, but our emotions and our mind already go back to the things yang trigger us lah. Contohnya kalau benda tu in the past, then it will be in the past lah. Kalau situational yang trigger kita, the situations, so kita akan berada dekat that situations. Ataupun kalau kita our emotions and our thoughts tu is about the future, so kita sebenarnya berada dekat future while our body is in present. That's why we need to bring ourselves back to the present first. So the way is doing deep breathing, doing grounding, which could help you to realize that, oh, actually I'm not in the situations that I'm trying to imagine. I'm in the present now. And I'm here, I'm safe here.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes. So mindfulness.
And yes, definitely. So looking at how sebab when it comes to anxiety, it's like your body going into this chaotic mode, like flight, fight, freeze. You know, it goes into that. So this is now telling your brain to get more used to, your mind and body actually, to get used to calmer state. So if you make it part of your routine, more your body would get to used to, you know, having a calmer state, because you're doing it every single day. So it gets more familiar with, oh, this is how calm feels like. Surely it feels like, yeah.
Nani, I nak add a bit yang tekan dekat deep breathing tu kan. I biasa guna ni with the teenagers ataupun kanak-kanak lah. Tapi I find it helpful for me too. Sebab I rasa macam okay nak letak dekat perut dengan dada ni macam okay, I tak berapa favor sangat. So I always use this kind of technique. Macam I guna my jari. So you see, I start daripada jari I bawa ke sini. So I macam tarik, then I hold. Then I lepaskan. Then I tarik sekali lagi, then I hold. Then I lepaskan. So until lah sampai finger yang terakhir, then I return balik. Sampailah I feel calm.
Yep.
So some people need stimulus to help them. So you can use this stimulus too. Atau you have your stress ball, also you can use.
Yeah, definitely.
Kan?
Absolutely.
So it's
all of
these
these tips that we have,
comfortable.
you can definitely be creative with it lah. Definitely. Anything that works for you, can experiment with it. And with the grounding technique we shared pun kan, if it's not, you don't have enough time, or in your current it's not reasonable, or it's not realistic to do all of 5 cycles of naming 5 things, 4 things to touch and those things, you can just focus on like, okay, in that moment I want to practice mindfulness. What's the quickest way I can bring myself to the present moment? So you can focus just touching. Then you can have like a stress ball, touching the stress ball and like squeezing it, seeing how it feels, or having something fluffy to hold, and can be something that is like your favorite soft thing that you just want to hold it and it's calming for you. So you can do just that. If you're having like a warm drink with you, you can just hold that mug and see and focus on the warmth of the cup, or just like, you know, how it feels like, those kind of things. Just think of, you can be very creative with it and just think of the quickest way to do it, and you don't have to focus on like getting the whole process done also. So it's always about doing what's feasible for your situation lah.
Kan, okay. Another technique ni, macam you cakap tadi lah, it's about your locus of control, your acceptance skills too. So maksudnya locus of control here is identify what is actually in your control. So when we have this anxious feeling, we always think that we can control everything in our life. So macam contoh kita fear kan, contohnya fear yang biasa I dengar ni lah, fear untuk perform. Sebab dia macam okay, bila kita nak exam kan, kita have this kind of anxious that the result will not turn out to be good lah kan. So you know, when we talk about result, do you think that result is something that within or beyond our control? So identify it. So kalau we want to talk about, we have this anxious feeling because we think about the result that will turn up later. Do you think that result is something that within or beyond our control? So is it okay? I mean, that is it fair for ourselves to think to have anxious feeling that's too much ni untuk something that out of our control? Is it fair for ourselves? So when we can't control things, does it mean that we have to force ourselves? We have to keep harming ourselves to make things happen? While the fact this thing is something that out of our control. So that's where the acceptance skills comes in. So you see, so in this situation, people anxious because they think that the result, they think too much about the result that will turn out later. You see, result is something that out of our control, but we have this anxious feeling because we think about the result that will come out later. So result is something that out of our control, but effort is come from us, is within our control. So identify your locus of control, and if it is something that out of your control, then train yourself to accept things that out of your control. Alright, so that's the technique of locus of control and also acceptance skills lah.
Yes, definitely.
So now you want to add anything?
This comes with practice. You won't be perfect right away, and it's okay. Just take your time. It's going to tell yourself a couple of times, reminding yourself so many times that, you know, okay, it's not in our control, it's okay. And after some time, it does take practice actually. So don't expect yourself to be experts in this area. Don't expect yourself to understand your locus of control right away lah. Just give it some practice, and definitely consistency is important as well. So with time, definitely you will start, learning these things also. Actually, eventually it will become a part of your thinking pattern. Yeah. So yes,
Betul.
not worry if you're not getting it right away. It's about just, once you have heard this information, it's about realization. It all starts with realization, and hopefully today you are getting that realization lah.
Okay, so other than that, kita kena monitor our sleep tu. If we don't have an enough sleep as well, pun dia akan affect kita punya emotions tu lah.
Yes.
Sebab kita perlukan tidur yang cukup, then try to have a routine. Kanal ni kan, having a routine and also have a proper time management. So these are some techniques that you can have to reduce you punya anxious feeling.
Yeah. Because we are looking at, we are talking about locus of control. So like I said, it comes back to what you can do, what is within your control, what decisions you take and stuff like that.
Betul.
So definitely looking into problem solving, going into the problem solving mode. What is making you anxious? If it's work stress, if it's academic stress. So what is required to help you better? So is it because, there is lack of time management? Is it because lack of stress management? So looking into how you solve those problems, how you can manage time better. There's always a lot of tools these days, a lot of tools online. One of the most common tool for time management is Pomodoro technique. And there's also things like Eisenhower matrix, where you break down the tasks that you have into smaller chunks, and then you categorize them according to their importance and urgency. So those, and not to worry with whatever that we are sharing very quickly, right? We will actually upload this whole live on our YouTube channel. So nanti we will put up a description also for all the things that we are sharing. So you can actually have those resources in the description, and you can refer to them later on. So not to worry about it, right? And really hope that would help you. So yeah, it's about looking into these kind of problem solving strategies, and like developing organizing skills pengurusan diri, masa, and overall make it a point to have and at least try your best to have a healthy lifestyle lah. So this involves pemakanan, sebab with anxiety, let's face it, caffeine.
Oh, caffeine.
You saw what I was saying?
I mean that some people they anxious, dia lagi pergi minum kopi.
Nope.
While caffeine adalah penyumbang kepada anxious feeling.
Yeah.
And
right. So yeah, please don't roll your eyes at me, but yeah, smoking is also one of the things that doesn't have anxiety. Okay, I know I'm not being a lecturer here, but I'm not going to lecture you into quitting or anything, but just letting you know these are the things that contribute to it. And yeah, this is what happens also. So just like try to be more mindful, try to look at your own lifestyle, and it's about making small changes that can definitely go a long way. You don't have to become like a all healthy person in one day. Okay, today new year, new me. It's not a new year anymore, but yeah, just new me, new day, new me, that kind of thing. You don't have to make like a complete change over. It's about being more intentional with your lifestyle, trying to make in the smallest way possible can definitely go a long way. Yeah.
Betul. Okay. So I guess that's all the tips, the basic tips that we can share lah. Sebab kita ni pun buat terapi. So kalau buat terapi tu lain sikit lah cerita dia kan. So I mean the basic tips yang you can practice adalah macam the relaxation techniques that we shared earlier. Then identify your locus of control, what you can control and what you can't control. And also if something that you can't control, if it doesn't mean to change, then what you can do is accepting it. Tapi accepting it adalah something yang I guess it's difficult for you to do too. Then, but that's what the reality it is lah. Okay, and then also the sleep hygiene, having routine, and the time management, because all this can help you to reduce your anxious feeling if things doesn't go with your plan. For something that you fear of. Okay. Alright, so I guess that's all for our sharing today. So I guess that there are other questions yang kita tak answer tadi Nalni. Oh, hari ni banyak kita bercakap ya Nalni.
And I'm really sorry because from my side I'm not able to see the comments for some reason.
Okay, tak apa. Let me help you. Tak apa, nanti I tolong bacakan untuk you lah Nalni ya. Sekejap ni, mana pergi ni jalan-jalan ni Dia dah naik-naik ke atas dah ni. Okay. Allah, jatuh pula. Astra sekejap baca. Dia tak, dia jatuh ni. Uh, okay. Dia ada orang tanya, does having constant hypnic jerking is a symptom of anxiety? This person experiences it seems small and almost every night. Oh, hypnic jerking.
Can you repeat?
Does constant hypnic jerking? I don't know how. Macam it's a symptom of anxiety. Hypnic jerking kot I rasa. It's a symptom of anxiety. I'm experiencing it since small and almost every night.
It's good to notice in what situation this occurs also. So if there is lack of triggers, or if the trigger is not known yet, so it's good to consult. And it seems like something that you've been facing constantly, right? So try to look more into it, and it'll be good to pay attention to the triggers as well. Maybe there is a common teasing every single day that is happening, and maybe that could be the reason. So try to pay more attention to those things as well.
Okay.
Before we could answer those questions. Yeah, and we need to wrap up soon, I suppose. So
betul.
Yeah.
Alright. So I guess that for hypnic jerking ni kan, if I'm googling around, dia macam something like rasa nak terjatuh or kena himpit semasa tidur. I don't know whether this is what you mean. Tapi when we talk about anxiety ni, it's not only from psychological part. We have to view from other part as well, medical part and as well as the spiritual part too. Sebab sometimes the anxious feeling that we have, it's not necessarily because of our psychological issue. But it can come from other sides. Contohnya macam medical issues, you will also have this kind of, contohnya macam penyakit 3 serangkai, biasa dengar kan, darah tinggi, kencing manis, lagi satu saya tak ingat apa. Tapi it can also triggers your anxiety symptoms. So it means here that it's not because of psychological problem. It can come from other perspective as well. Yeah. Kalau itulah yang you maksudkan dengan hypnic jerking. Okay. And panic attack, if someone scare me or if there is thunder or sudden noise, I will get panic and heart beats fast. Okay. How to process the trauma? I mean the real meaning of process. Okay, I guess that this is gonna be a long topic to discuss about to process the trauma. Okay, maybe we are so sorry we can't talk much about this because we don't have enough time to talk about this. But actually, processing the trauma is like giving a space for you to embrace with the trauma feeling, because yes, trauma is very very painful, and walaupun it's a simple trauma tapi it leave you with the painful experience kan. So it's about giving a space, giving yourself an opportunity for you to embrace with the trauma, so that although you live in the present, there is an anxious feeling, you still can go despite the trauma experience that you had. Alright, so
it's basically trying to make sense of your situation, try to make sense of what happened and coming to terms with it. It doesn't mean that excusing whatever that happened, like whatever wrong that has happened to you, doesn't mean that you have to be like, oh, it's okay, I forgive this person. No, it's not necessarily that. I mean, if that can be part of processing the trauma, but part of it is also trying to understand it, what you got out of it. So it's just like, this is what something that we usually do in talk therapy. So processing trauma is definitely important, and it's the safest way to do it is in therapy sessions, when you have a professional to guide you through those emotions, because it can really bring up a lot of discomfort, but those discomfort would be key to help you process it. Sometimes it's a cycle. Something that I would usually say is like, the only way out of it is through it. So it's about helping yourself to get through with the discomfort and everything, so that something good comes out of it actually, which is healing.
Yes. healing. Biasa kita dengarkan healing dalam percintaan, but actually it's not only in percintaan.
Yeah.
It's about our trauma too. Sebab when we trauma, yes, we feel painful, but it's not about fight with the painful. It's not about avoiding the painful, but it's about you go with it, you go through with it. Go through together. Macam tu. Alright, and there are some ada juga yang share panic attack, feels like I can't breathe. Yes, that's the normal symptoms of a panic attack. Then I rasa sentiasa kena panic attack when I'm hungry. Wow, it's lunch. Okay, now it's your lunchtime, so go. And then is there any more questions here? Overthinking and feeling of not good enough is part of anxiety too. Yes, definitely. These are kind of distorted thoughts, the unhelpful thinking style yang I cakap tadi, thoughts yang tak membantu langsung. These are kind of thoughts yang akan contribute much on anxiety level. Bila you overthink something in the future while you are in the present.
Yes. And overthinking or any type of unhelpful thinking is divided into three things, like thoughts about ourselves, firstly,
yes,
and thoughts about others around us, and thoughts about life in general, thoughts about the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Betul. Alright. So yes, overthinking is sangat-sangat common untuk contribute to anxiety lah. Alright. So how do I say this? It's not part of anxiety, but it's contribute to anxiety. Yep. Alright. Okay. So I guess that's all from our session today, our live session today.
Yes.
So I guess next week we're gonna have one more. We have one more live session, but it will be in Chinese version, if I'm not mistaken. So we will having a continuous live session for this month, if I'm not mistaken. So every week we will have one IG live. So we will talk about different topic. So hope you can join kita every time that we have our live session to get some input, some knowledge that might be benefit for you or for other people too. Alright. So yes, Nalini, do you have anything else to say before we end our IG live?
Yeah, I think that's it from my side also. Thank you so much for everyone who have been listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Apologize if there was any technical issues at all from my side or our side.
Yes.
But yeah, so much for being with us, and really appreciate all the questions, and we really this was helpful. And yes, if there's anything that we could do, we would be hoping to. We always welcome ideas, what kind of topics that you would like us to talk about more, because we're looking into making it a weekly live session to have this interaction with you guys, and we would really enjoy doing that. So feel free to share your thoughts with us as well. And yes, we are going multilingual. Yeah, so we would do it in different languages as well to make it more inclusive for more and more people. Yeah.
Yeah. So so we are welcome you guys untuk tanya anything or
let us know.
Pardon?
Sorry. Yeah, I was saying how, like, if more people want us to have a live session in Tamil as well, please let us know.
We have Nalini here. Okay, so we welcome any topic and you guys rasa we want to talk about, sebab sometimes we are also out of idea what kind of topics that we want to share.
It's more like
so
discuss actually. So to really choose, because there's so much to discuss.
Yeah,
when it comes to
there's so much to discuss.
It would be helpful to really know about, from audience side, what they would want us to talk about. What's the most common thing they would want to hear?
Sebab kita tak naklah cerita tentang something yang not common happen kan. So we want to share about things yang biasa jadi that you can apply in your daily life too. Alright, so I guess that before we end our IG live session, so just to let you know that whenever that you feel anxious, whenever you have this kind of anxious symptom, it's okay for you to feel anxious. Don't feel bad about having this anxious feeling, because you need this anxious feeling for you to keep moving forward, to let you out of your comfort zone. Okay, but then let's remain it in a minimal amount lah, so that it doesn't affect your behavior and also your daily functioning. Alright? Okay, so I guess that's all from my side. Nalini, do you have anything to add? A bit je.
Just like be gentle with yourself, that's it. Yeah.
Alright, okay. Okay, thank you for all the feedback, and we will see you guys next week for the Chinese version.
All
All
right.
right. Okay. Bye bye, guys. Bye.